This is the representation of my feelings towards buying a house. Expensive, not worth it, too much work. With that being said, visiting a place that you like is significantly different than living in a place that you like. You know, I'm not from Houston, but I'm very familiar with it. Brian's born and raised here. He has family here. We have friends here. All the things, all the support systems were already put in place for us for this to be a success. And it still was not, you know, because visiting 2 weeks at a time, even bringing the dogs here, watching them enjoy the grass, enjoy the yard of the Airbnbs that we've rented, getting to walk around the neighborhoods, being familiar with the neighborhoods, knowing how to drive around a place. That's all good and well, but that actually doesn't really make a life. And also, I've never, ever in my life, even to this day, besides when we moved here, spent a summer in Houston.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. We're going to react to the video, and I want to provide a different perspective. Whenever you're to a different state, you need to rent. You need to get there and you need to figure out if you like the city or the area in which you move to. Because coming from LA to Houston, that's a big change. And as she mentioned briefly, the weather. It's the South, not the South. The South, it gets hot, it gets humid. You have different weather events, hurricanes, rain, so on and so forth. So you can determine if you want to stay there or not. And I'm seeing a lot of videos from folks that have come from California during the pandemic, and they're like, we're out of here. We're going back to California. Shout out to you if you have the ability to do that, but a lot of folks don't have that leeway. Let's move forward.
And guess when we moved to Houston? I do think, though, if we would have rented here first before jumping the gun and buying, we may still be here. I think about that a lot. I think buying here before renting and living here for a year was a really bad mistake. And it would have made the realization that maybe moving to Houston wasn't the right decision much easier. But we didn't. Number two, 20% is non-negotiable. Whether that entire 20% goes to your down payment or not, you need to have at least 20% of whatever you're putting down for the house, at least. No, down payment wise, paying less than 20% means a PMI. It means higher monthly payments, and it offers way less flexibility than you think. But even if you do put 20% down on the house, you need to have something left over for the inevitable.
I agree with her 100%. You don't necessarily have to have 20% as a down payment because you have different loan programs. Conventional, FHA, USDA, and VA all offer from 100% or as little as 5%, depending on your status as a first-time home buyer or not. It takes money to live in a home. You are the one that will have to upkeep it, maintain it, and deal with life when life happens.
Whether it's a fixer-upper like ours or a brand new build, I guarantee you the first month that you live in the house is going to be rough. You're going to find things that need immediate fixing. You're going to have to buy furniture, maybe security. Every trip to Lowe's or wherever adds up. So just know 20% at least is the minimum you have to have put aside, whether it's a down payment or not, because you will use it. Number three, an emergency fund. No longer optional. I mean, it was never really optional, but now, especially that you are a homeowner, you need to have a fully funded emergency fund. And then whatever emergency fund you think is enough, add $1,000 to it and make sure it's liquid in a high yield savings account. When you own a home, issues become financial events. And these issues are things that you have to take care of and be responsible for completely by yourself.
Emergency fund, something that you need to have regardless if you're renting or buying. Might not have to have the 20%, but I do like that number, not put all the 20% down as far as a down payment is concerned and keep the rest, but don't spend it. Don't buy furniture and all these other things.
Number four, you are responsible for everything. That's something that you inherently know. Like, you own a home, you know you're going to be the caregiver of the home, but until the AC is broken, until there's a gas leak, you really don't understand how much effort it takes to keep your house in working order until everything breaks down and you need to figure it out. There is no landlord, there is no maintenance phone number. If it breaks, if it leaks, if it cracks, it's all on you.
You are the maintenance department. You will fix things. Now, I wanted to slow down a little bit because she offered another little bit of piece of information. They purchased a fixer upper. So now the plot is thickening. And this is why you all have to be careful about who it is that you're watching, especially if you don't have any history of owning a home, because it could just sound so negative. If you're not buying a house that needs to be fixed up, then the chances of you having to have all this money and some of these horror stories that she had off the top may not be applicable. But you do need to have money, because if something does happen, if it's a new build or pre-existing home, you have to be able to take care of those things. You got American Express, SoFi, different credit unions. There's a lot of folks out here that offer a meager, I won't say a meager, but 3 to 4% APY. And this is not investment advice or anything of that nature. Those are just two places that I'm familiar with. But you could put those monies there and not spend them. That's what's important, because if something happens, you have the ability to tap into those monies, and it's earning a little interest. It's not just zero like with some of these banks, and you will be prepared. But remember, she bought a fixer upper and moved all the way across the country from a place where she could go drive 2 to 3 hours and be in 2 or 3 different climates to the South where it's hot all the time. Let's continue.
We had AC issues. We had gas line issues. I'm pretty sure I had a sink issue on top of all the cosmetic things that we wanted to do that ended up revealing more issues. Those, of course, you deal on your own. But as a renter, the funny thing is when we moved back to LA, within the first couple months, we actually ended up having a water leak in our apartment complex. And instead of me having to frantically find a plumber to come in immediately, because that never happens, no one can come in immediately, to fix the pipeline, I was able to run to the leasing office. They were able to call the maintenance guy on call, and it was fixed immediately. The pipe was fixed, the paint was fixed, the drywall was fixed, all within a week. But the main issue of the water leak was shut off immediately. If that happened in our home, it would have been, I probably would have had to figure out a way to shut off the water myself, and at least a few days until I would have been able to find someone to fix the issue.
Here we go. Here we go. Breathe, Robert, because it's not personal and you're not attacking. But here's the deal. One thing she's not saying is, when they went back to LA, how much are they paying in rent? Because what a lot of the folks in my community or people that watch the videos and comment on, everyone is trying to find the least expensive scenario for them to live in. You don't want to pay any taxes. You don't want to have to deal with any maintenance. You want someone else to do it. Well, how much does that cost? You see, I would respect what she's saying a lot more if she just said, hey, you know what? I made the wrong decision. I'm not trying to dissuade you from home ownership, but listen to some of the things that I did the wrong way so that you won't make those same choices when buying a investment property, a fixer upper, and moving across the country, because it's a lot cheaper to live in Houston than it is in LA. See, that's what's really going on, in my opinion. But we can still learn. You guys can still learn a lot of things from what she's saying if you listen. If you listen. I said all that to say this. There's no scenario in which you're going to get away from taxes. There's not. And if you choose not to manage, control as much as you can control, then someone else is going to charge you for that. Facts. Understand that when you're making the decision on should I buy or rent, because that's how you need to go about that process. This is a fixer upper. This isn't something that was already fixed. Sounds like they were trying to make a business profit, an investment. I will go to Houston, find something a lot less, because my perspective on real estate from an LA market is we can't buy nothing out here, but we could go back to where the husband, fiance, boyfriend is from, get something, fix it up. He's from there and flip it. But timing is everything. Let's continue.
No, rent is a lot. And when you live in like a really big complex like me, it can get expensive, but it's worth it when you don't have to do daily maintenance. Even in our loft, cleaning the fans, all I have to do is call maintenance or request maintenance, and they can come in with their huge ladders and do it themselves. That's definitely something that you have to consider. Number 5, oh Lordy. Your mortgage payments are not fixed. After the first year of us owning our home, our mortgage payment increased $500 a month. Property taxes can go up. Insurance goes up. HOAs go up. That locked in number that you think you're going to pay every month is flexible, because when you buy, you are buying into a system that you cannot control.
Let me stop her there, because your mortgage payment is fixed if you get a fixed interest rate loan. The principal and interest portion is fixed. More often than not, the common term is 30 years. And as she's saying, the total payment, the escrow account that holds your taxes, insurance, HOA, that is what fluctuates. So that is not a correct statement. If you have an adjustable rate mortgage and you're in an adjustment period, then your mortgage payment changes. And I'm not trying to play semantics, but we have to correct this thinking. Now, as she's stating, you have no control over property taxes or over insurance or the HOA, other than you not buying in an area where an HOA is. But the control you have is watching these videos and learning from other people's mistakes, and not trying to demonize the system of owning a home because you didn't understand it. We all get the benefit, and we appreciate her coming on and giving her story so that we can learn. So you can decide if you want to deal with these things, because there's no way around them. I think that's the message that I want to start getting out. The more you hand over to someone to do, the more cost you're going to have on the renting side. And if you choose to manage that on your side, then you have to deal with those costs. Let's continue.
City zoning laws, interest rates, insurance markets, HOA boards. I never had an HOA, but I hear they can be a nightmare. And local politics can all affect your housing cost and value. And guess what? If your house gets too much for you to afford, selling is not as easy as you may think. We actually tried to sell our house last summer, but with government layoffs and high interest rates, it was just not the right time.
Now, that's a great point that she made. And this is why we advise people to not purchase a home if you're not going to be there a minimum of 5 years. And that's on the shorter the time spectrum now. You really need to be 7 plus, because you might be dealing with an economy or a housing market that has slowed down when you try to sell. And you don't want to be in that situation. I don't want to be in that situation when you're ready to move on from something. This can make you feel or exacerbate all those things that you're lamenting about, that you're ready to move on and you can't, because it's not a quick process. So every market has a time frame in which homes move, and that is dependent upon your house. Because remember, this is a fixer upper. So we don't know what shape the house is in. You may have bitten off more than you can chew, and that may have been a factor, may not, but it could have, in why the house is still or hadn't sold at the time that they were trying to sell it. I don't know if it's sold or not now, but keep these things in mind as well.
Sell, to be honest. And then on top of maybe breaking even, at least in my case, you have fees, repairs, possibly staging, and timing of the market. All of that can wipe out any profit that you may have. Number 6, unromanticize the idea of owning a home before searching for one. The reason why I was so gung-ho on buying a home was because I thought that was my next step. Technically, that was my last financial goal that I needed to achieve.
I agree with her on that. It's not reality. And she sounds like she's a very savvy person, and she fell into it, right? For whatever reason. And so this is something that you have to control. You have to control your emotions. And how you do that, in my opinion, is this: life events. What is it going on in your life that would require you to create a new household? And from there, do you need 15 rooms? Do you need to move across the country? Have you made an assumption that because of something that you saw on social media and these folks flipping houses and making all this money, did you assume that was going to be your experience? And it could be and it could not be. And more times than not, it's not, because most folks on social media are not telling you the whole story because they're looking for your attention. So, yes, you need to be real when it comes to home ownership. You being in a home doesn't make you better than anybody else. It should provide shelter, good schools for your kids, close to work, so on and so forth. The goal is to have a paid off home when you get to a time when you don't feel like hustling and bustling so much anymore, and you just have to deal with the taxes and or insurance. Let's continue.
Number 7, homeownership is not the investment it once was. Gone are the days of buying a home for $50,000 and then selling it decades later for a $600,000 profit.
I got to disagree with you again. First of all, buying a primary residence should never be purchased as an investment. And 50 years ago, when those folks bought those homes, they bought those homes to live in. And 50 years later, the values are where they are because of inflation. So if you buy your house to live in, not as an investment, and you live in it for that period of time, inflation is going to continue to do its job. That's why houses are where they are today. I'll also say this: you can make numbers say whatever you want them to say. They don't lie, but you can make them say what you want them to say. And I say that to say this: everyone's not buying a $500,000 house. All homes don't cost a $500,000. In Houston, you could get homes under $200,000. The deal is this: you don't want to live there. We want a lifestyle, but we don't want to pay for it. And this is what I want to keep putting my finger on in these videos that I'm seeing. If you don't want to buy a home, don't buy it. That's a decision that you make. But all of these arguments and all these folks were going around and around in the wilderness about should I buy or should I not buy? Don't buy because of all these things that happened to me. If you're going to tell folks not to buy, tell them not to buy a fixer-upper, because that's an investment property, because all those other things could possibly happen. Whenever you invest, you can and possibly will lose money, especially when you're doing something that you don't have the acumen to do.
Number 8, I briefly spoke about this, but you actually never, ever, ever completely own your home. There will always be payments. Taxes, banks, insurance companies, HOAs, and the government all have claim. They all have claim to your home. If you miss a payment, which these days is really not that hard to do, it's not yours anymore. And even if you pay off your home, I think I read a statistic that 40% of homeowners actually have a paid off mortgage, which jealous, amazing. You still have to pay for insurance and taxes. Also, by the way, depending on where you live, Insurance companies may no longer be offering you coverage. I know that it's happening in Florida. I know that it's starting to happen in LA, places where it's fire prone, hurricane prone, flooding prone. If insurance companies stop offering coverage in your area, homeowners are then forced to look for other options, which will probably end up being more expensive, more inconvenient, and with less coverage. I don't know. I'm about to see if our insurance or our property taxes increased yet again this year, probably next month. So I will let you know.
I don't want to beat a dead horse. I appreciate her coming on and sharing her story. Let me ask you this. What do you actually own outright? And then when you own things outright, like say there were no taxes and none of these things, where you don't have any roads and you don't have anyone else contributing, well, that means you have to handle everything yourself. And all the way through the video, that's what she's saying. And that's what a lot of folks are saying. They're complaining about, it's all on me. It's all on me. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a proponent for taxes. I don't like paying them either. But as an adult, I understand the benefits that are derived from taxes. And if you don't have some of these things, then you have to take care of everything. Look at it this way. Say you bought your own land out in the country somewhere, and you have hundreds of acres, and you don't have any power or water or infrastructure, and you have to pay for all of that. Do you have the ability to do that? And so I'm not, again, saying that the system is perfect. There's some waste in the system. There are people that are getting over, but this notion that you don't own it, well, what do you own? You know what I'm saying? And so if it makes you feel better, say you manage it. But I tell you what, you don't want to get older and can't afford a home, because senior living is expensive. I know personally, real expensive. And when you're younger, you're like, oh, I'll worry about that later. Taxes are going to be more expensive for you later than they are now. If you don't believe me, ask someone that's retired in your life, and they'll tell you, man, stuff is up because it's tied to inflation. As we wrap it up, again, don't know the young lady, very intelligent, but I hear a lot of holes in the story. And this is what I would advise for you to do. Know your numbers, know your why. Why are you wanting another home? And if it's to make you feel good or feel like you checked the box, you need to stay where you are. If you're someone that never has fixed anything or never come out of your pocket, but you've always been somewhere where you could call somebody and tell them to turn off the water and clean the fans, you're probably not ready to buy a home. You probably should put yourself in a situation where you have to do those things and figure out if you like it or not. If you're moving from one city to another, rent, don't buy, because you might not like it. If you're coming from a climate, that is not very intense in weather, and you're going to one, don't buy, because you're probably not going to like it. You're not used to those things. And then last but not least, separate a primary residence from a true investment, because they bought an investment property. You might be buying a primary residence. My time is up, but I thank you for yours. As I always say, guys, let's be good to one another. Let grace abound. Check out these next 2 videos. It will continue to help you on your home ownership journey. And until the next time, indeed, y'all stay blessed.